Zootopia 2 will bring us lots of brand new things, but some of them won't actually be so brand new. Did you know that the sequel will feature several scenes and characters that were originally supposed to appear in the first movie but ended up being deleted? Dating. Nick and Judy are great friends, but a lot of people think they're a couple, and in a deleted scene, it would have shown that even some characters in Zootopia think that's the case. In the scene, Judy's parents and siblings would sneak into her apartment to surprise her and congratulate her for becoming a police officer. But then the little bunny would arrive accompanied by Nick. At that moment, her parents would be a bit startled to see the fox. Judy would explain that Nick is just accompanying her, and her parents would ask if he's her boyfriend. Judy would deny it. Now, whether her parents would believe her or not, that's uncertain. This scene could easily be carried over to Zootopia 2, especially since there's a strong possibility Nick and Judy will actually become a couple in this movie. Even if they don't, it could still work as a joke, since we already know the sequel will have gags like that. For example, the character's going to what seems like couples therapy, but is actually a work partner session, and also hints that the two will pretend to be married and parents of a baby, played by Finnick, of course. The funny part is that in that same scene, her parents would also find out she's working as a traffic cop instead of doing police patrols, which also happens in the final version of the movie, just in a different scene. That part won't be adapted since it's already happened, in a way. Pretty wild, right? But this is just the beginning. Today, we're going to talk about all 10 deleted scenes and characters that will appear in Zootopia 2. So grab your popcorn and settle in. Cinewave is starting now. Razerbacks. If you're doubting the possibility that Zootopia 2 will really bring back elements cut from the original movie, it's probably because you didn't notice this has already been confirmed in the teaser and trailer for the sequel, since a major deleted character shows up here. This guy is a one-eyed wild boar who apparently works for the police department. He's identical to one of the members of the Razerbacks, an elite police squad made up of wild boars who track down predators. This character appears alongside the police chief in the Zootopia 2 trailer, which means the Razerbacks will still be out there chasing criminals. The other boars will probably also show up and help their leader with the hunts. But we believe their main targets in this version will be reptiles, like Gary, since the trailer makes it pretty clear that snakes are feared by mammals. And since Nick and Judy will be on the run with Gary to find out who the real villain of the story is, they'll also have to run from this squad. Shock collar. The reason they decided to reuse some deleted elements from their first film is simple. The early versions of Zootopia were going to be completely different, and you can see that in some deleted scenes from Nick's life, like the one where he goes to a medical checkup. In the concept animation made for this moment, you can see Nick wearing a collar around his neck. The idea was that a major part of the movie's plot would be about predators being forced to wear collars from a young age. These collars would shock them anytime they felt strong emotions, with the excuse that they needed it so they wouldn't be taken over by their wild instincts. Of course, that was just a cover. In reality, the collars were something truly sinister, which would have made the movie way darker than the final version. Many fans thought the collar idea was pretty cool, even if they understood why Disney scrapped it so the film wouldn't traumatize little kids. Still, the idea might get reused, this time with collars as devices that snakes and other reptiles are forced to wear while inside Zootopia, for example. That's why, according to Nick, no snake has set foot in the city in years. It's a terrible place for them to live. Mayor Swinton. In this version, Assistant Mayor Bellwether hadn't even been invented yet, so who would have been the villain of the movie? The answer? Mayor Swinton, an elegant and extremely intelligent pig, since pigs are among the smartest animals out there. The character was left out of the first movie since Bellwether took over as the villain and Lionheart took over as the city's mayor. In the new movie, it's already been confirmed that the current mayor of Zootopia is a horse and former actor known as Wind Dancer. But hold on, none of this means Swinton couldn't show up. She could be the new assistant mayor since we still don't know who's taking that position. Or she could appear in another political role like a prosecutor or something similar. That would make sense if she's the sequel's villain, because everyone would suspect her if she were mayor like Lionheart or assistant mayor like Bellwether. Would you like to see her as the big villain of Zootopia 2 just like we would? If yes, drop a comment below with #villain. Wooly. Another villain who was cut from the story is Wooly, a sheep who would have worked for Mayor Swinton. He would have been a spy tasked with eating important documents, and his main disguise would have been a wolf costume. Basically, a wolf in sheep's clothing, or in this case, a lamb in wolf's clothing. It would make total sense for Wooly to return, since he'd be a real thorn in Nick and Judy's side, just like the Wild Boar Squad would be. On top of that, some fans even believe he could be Bellwether's father. After all, they're the same species and both hide behind disguises. The daughter pretended to be a clumsy, harmless little sheep, while the father literally wears disguises all the time. There's even a character in the first Zootopia who references Wooly. Doug Ramses, the chemist and sharpshooter who works for Bellwether. But they're not identical, so it's not possible to say they're the same person. Birthday. This might sound surprising, but Kozlov, the polar bear who works for Mr. Big, who would have had a much bigger role in the original version of the first movie, acting as a major crime boss instead of just a lackey. There would have been a very emotional scene where Nick and Judy crash his son's birthday party. The gangster would put a shock collar on his own son because the cat had reached the age where it was time. Everyone would be celebrating until the boy got too happy and ended up getting shocked. In this case, the scene is less likely to be adapted into Zootopia 2 because if shock collars do appear in the sequel, it'll probably be in the way we mentioned earlier, with reptiles being forced to wear them instead of predators. Still, it's possible the scene could make it in if the collar part is removed and it's simply about Nick and Judy crashing Kozlov's son's birthday, especially since Mr. Big will be returning and we'll see the main character meeting his granddaughter at a party. Could it be that this event is actually a celebration thrown by Kozlov in honor of his little one? Mr. Wild. Nick is an incredible character, but we all know that the protagonist of Zootopia, at least in the first movie, is Judy. That would have been different in the old script, since the story would have revolved around the Sly Fox and we would have learned a lot more about his past. We would have even met his father, Mr. Wild. Unlike Nick, his father wasn't a dishonest man. His dream was to open a tailor shop for all kinds of mammals. The place would have been called ZOOTOPIA. All of this would have connected directly to Nick's main goal in that version of the movie, something we'll talk about in a bit. But since Judy took the lead role, with the movie starting when she was a child, all of this was dropped. Still, with Zootopia 2 having her and Nick working together from the very beginning, this would be the perfect time to explore the fox's past and bring his father to the big screen. Nick's house. Another thing the movie would have shown is Nick's house, a totally messy place with leaky ceilings everywhere. It fit the character perfectly, since at that time he was struggling financially and making a living by scamming people. And if Zootopia 2 has good reasons to bring in Mr. Wild, then there's just as much reason to show Nick's house in a simple, lighthearted scene. It's easy to imagine Judy stopping by for a visit and being shocked at how messy his place is, or the two of them dropping by while on the run so Nick can grab something important for the investigation. And you don't need to go anywhere if you're looking for amazing videos about your favorite animated shows. Just hit that subscribe button and they'll always pop up in your feed. Jack Savage. What if we told you there's a conceptual version of Zootopia that's even older than the one focused on Nick and the shock collars? A version created before Nick and Judy even existed, with a spy rabbit as the main character. Yep, that almost happened. The main character of the story would have been a rabbit named Jack Savage, working as a spy for an organization similar to MI6, the United Kingdom's Secret Intelligence Service. Even though Jack Savage ended up being split into two characters and reimagined as Nick and Judy during the film's development, he's so different that he could easily appear as a brand new character without anyone suspecting that this spy was once meant to be the center of the entire franchise. And he would fit perfectly into the movie, especially since Gary is probably not a resident of Zootopia. He's a criminal, or an alleged criminal from somewhere else, maybe from a fictional version of the UK. Jack Savage could be sent to Zootopia to take Gary out, but Judy and Nick would end up standing in his way. Nick's loan. Going back to that early version of Zootopia where Nick was the main focus, remember when we mentioned that his father once dreamed of opening a tailor shop for all kinds of mammals? That dream would have inspired Nick to want to build an amusement park for predators, a place where animals could remove their shock collars and just have fun. There would have been a scene that was both pretty funny and a little sad, with Nick trying to convince multiple companies to sponsor his project and failing miserably every single time. Want to keep having fun with us? The secret is to click on one of the two videos we left on your screen especially for you. Thanks, and see you next time!